The emergency klaxon screamed through Station Omega-7 as another bulkhead exploded inward. Sparks cascaded from severed power conduits while emergency lighting bathed the corridor in hellish red. Commander Vextai of the Hegemony Defense Corps pressed himself against the wall, his chitinous armor slick with perspiration that shouldn't have been possible for his species. The war beast had broken containment. Through the smoke and debris, Vextai caught glimpses of the nightmare that stalked the halls. 12 feet of genetically engineered death, its obsidian carapace gleaming with bioluminescent veins that pulsed with each thunderous heartbeat. Razor-sharp claws carved through reinforced steel like soft cheese, while its 6 eyes, each the size of a dinner plate, swept the corridor with predatory intelligence. The Hegemony had created the war beasts 3 centuries ago during the border wars. Perfect killing machines designed to breach enemy fortifications and slaughter everything within. They were unstoppable, uncontrollable, and utterly without mercy, which was precisely why they'd been locked away in the deepest vaults of the galaxy's most secure research stations. Until today. All security teams to level 7. Vextai barked into his communicator, though he knew it was hopeless. The first response team had lasted 37 seconds. The second hadn't even managed to fire their weapons before being torn apart by those terrible claws. The war beast's roar shook the station's superstructure. Somewhere in the distance, screams echoed through the ventilation system, screams that cut off with sickening abruptness. Vextai's tactical display showed 17 life signs remaining on the station. 19 had winked out in the past 4 minutes. Soon the evacuation shuttles would arrive to find nothing but corpses and the war beast, probably gnawing on bones in the wreckage. The creature rounded the corner ahead, its massive head swiveling toward him, those 6 eyes locked onto his position with the focus of an apex predator that had found its next meal. Saliva dripped from jaws lined with teeth like obsidian daggers. Each drop sizzled against the deck plating. Vextai raised his plasma rifle with hands that shook, despite 2 decades of combat experience. The weapon felt pathetically inadequate against 15 tons of bioengineered death. He'd seen the reports from the old wars. War beasts had walked through artillery barrages without slowing down. The creature took a step forward, claws scraping grooves in the reinforced flooring, then another. Its breathing was like the bellows of some ancient forge, deep and rhythmic and terrible. "Sir?" The voice came from behind him, young, nervous, distinctly human. Vextai risked a glance backward and saw Private Chen emerging from a maintenance hatch, her standard-issue rifle clutched in white-knuckled hands. The human looked terrified but determined, which was typical of her species. Humans had only joined the Hegemony 50 years ago, but they'd already earned a reputation for refusing to abandon their posts, even in hopeless situations. "Get back, Private," Vextai hissed. "This is a war beast. Nothing can stop it once it's—" The creature charged. 15 tons of death accelerated down the corridor with impossible speed. Vextai opened fire, his plasma bolts splashing harmlessly across the creature's armored hide. He dove sideways but knew it wouldn't matter. War beasts didn't miss. Private Chen stepped forward. "Fluffy." The word was barely a whisper, lost beneath the creature's thunderous approach and the wail of alarms. But the war beast heard it and stopped. 12 feet of engineered nightmare skidded to a halt mere inches from Chen's position, claws gouging trenches in the deck plating as it fought its own momentum. Its 6 eyes stared down at the human, no longer burning with predatory hunger but with something else entirely. Recognition. Chen reached out with one trembling hand and placed it against the creature's massive snout. The war beast, Fluffy, made a sound that was part whimper, part purr, and entirely impossible. "Hey there, big guy," Chen whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I wondered what happened to you." Vextai lowered his rifle, too stunned to process what he was witnessing. The most dangerous predator in known space was nuzzling against a human private like some oversized pet. "You know this thing?" he managed. Chen nodded, running her hand along the creature's scarred hide. "This is Project Designation WB-1147, but his real name is Fluffy. I was part of the xenobiology team that raised him from an egg." "That's impossible. The war beasts were created 300 years ago. You're barely 25. Not created," Chen corrected softly. "Discovered. We found the eggs on Kepler 442b during the archaeological survey last year. The Hegemony classified them as weapons and shipped them here for study." She looked into the creature's eyes, all 6 of them, with obvious affection. "But they're not weapons. They're children." The war beast, Fluffy, settled onto his haunches, still towering over both of them but no longer radiating menace. His bioluminescent veins had shifted from aggressive red to a soft blue-green. The original war beasts weren't bioengineered, Chen continued. They were captured juveniles, tortured and conditioned until they became killing machines. But Fluffy and the others, they were raised with kindness, with love. She scratched behind what might have been the creature's ear, earning another impossible purr. The hegemony took them away when they realized the creatures could be controlled through emotional bonding, rather than pain conditioning. Vexatai stared at the docile monster before him. But the rampage, he was looking for me. Chen's voice broke slightly. They locked him away from everyone who cared about him, kept him in isolation for months. He just wanted to come home. The commander's communicator crackled. Vextai, this is Admiral Korth. Evacuation shuttles are standing by. What's your status on the war beast? Vextai looked at Chen, still comforting the creature that had terrorized an entire space station. He thought about the hegemony's methods, about pain conditioning and isolation and the assumption that fear was the only way to control something powerful. He thought about humans, and their inexplicable ability to find connections where others saw only monsters. The situation is contained, Admiral, he said finally, but we're going to need some changes to the containment protocols. Chen smiled through her tears, and Fluffy, all 15 tons of him, settled more comfortably on the deck with what could only be described as contentment. Sometimes Vextai realized the most human solution was simply to remember that even monsters had names.